Hello, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Kevin Leonard, and this is a presentation on acupuncture called Acupuncture Demystified. So, before I get too far into things, I'd like to go ahead and tell you just a little bit about myself. Essentially, I want to tell you my story and how I got involved with becoming an acupuncturist. I was working in Austin, Texas. I was a massage therapist, and it was really great. I really enjoyed doing massage and helping people feel good, making them feel better, relieving their muscle aches and tensions. I wanted to do more. I wanted to give them more than just that. It's wonderful, blissful relaxation, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to do some healing for people. So I went to go study Asian bodywork. Specifically, I studied Zen Shiatsu, which you've probably heard of, and Tuina. Tuina is a Chinese modality. It works on the meridians and the acupuncture points. Feels really amazing. It's just great. So I went to go study this to hopefully give my patients some more, or my clients some more healing when they came to see me. And it was really wonderful. It was just fantastic what I was learning, and my clients were really enjoying what I was bringing, the new things that I was bringing to the table. But there was just one problem. I had back pain. So you can imagine someone who's doing body work or massage spends quite a bit of time bent over their clients, and well, it's just wasn't doing anything good for my back. In fact, my back was getting much worse. Now, there was a good thing that came out of this because I was studying Asian bodywork in the same school where they teach acupuncture. This was the Academy of Oriental Medicine in Austin. Now it's AOMA, Graduate School of Integrative Medicine. And all of my friends who I was in bodywork class were also in the acupuncture program, and they were saying, "Kevin, go get acupuncture." So finally, I was a little nervous. A lot of people are nervous about the needles, and I was right there with you. And I said, but I really want to find out what this medicine has to offer. So I went and I got a treatment. I have to tell you, I was blown away. I mean, I was receiving a lot of massage because I knew a lot of massage therapists, but nothing prepared me for how much relief I got from acupuncture. After my first session, I walked out and probably about 75% of my back pain was gone. I felt just, like so relaxed, and my body was loose, and it was just like, this is it. This is what I want to offer the people who come to see me. And so I went and enrolled in the whole program the very next day. If I knew what I was getting into, I may not have done it. It was very challenging, but it was a very rewarding 4 years of school, and I absolutely love what I do. And today, my favorite thing is when my clients get up off the table and they have that same sense of amazement and wonder, and like, it's a new lease on life when you get up and you're no longer in pain. So this is really great. I really enjoy it. I'm in Houston now. I work for Upper Kirby Acupuncture. It is my company, and it's just wonderful. And I hope you like what I have to say here, and I hope I see you soon. So let's get moving forward, though, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on here. Acupuncture in Chinese medicine is the fastest growing healthcare trend in the United States today. Now, there's quite a few reasons why that is. Some of them may be obvious to you. Some of them might not be quite as obvious. You might not have quite thought about it. One of the top things people come to see us for is because the cost. You know, healthcare these days is astronomical. Unless you have a Cadillac insurance plan provided by your employer, well, you're kind of out of luck when getting quality healthcare. I know so many people who have to pay for their own health care, have to pay for their own insurance, and they opt to pay for these massive major medical plans with like $10,000 deductible. It's the only way they can afford the premiums. So obviously they're not going to the doctor and paying out of the doctor every time they go. So they go to see acupuncturists and naturopathic doctors and massage therapists for their basic common maladies, their common health care. So it's very cost effective when you're looking at that you're getting treated for about the same price that you would be paying for your copays. Often when you go to see some of these other doctors, and here you're getting your whole treatment, not just a doctor's visit. Another reason why people are turning to Chinese medicine is because many doctors' answer these days is just to give people medicine, pharmacological medicine, and they have side effects. It's really crazy just listening to the television any given night of the week, the side effects are often sound much worse than what they're actually treating. My favorite one is this one for toe fungus, and one of the side effects is possible liver cancer and kidney failure. I'm like, geez, I'm going to take this toe fungus, right? So, um, there's nothing more natural healing than Chinese medicine. When you're looking at acupuncture, it's just a little stainless steel needle, and there's no medicine on it. It's your body which is doing the healing. We just have a really unique way of listening to the body and talking to the body and coaxing it into doing what it knows how to do by itself. Sometimes you want to give some herbal medicine as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, because herbal medicine can provide a little bit of something the body's missing and just giving a little bit more of a nudge. Another thing that I really like to think it was why people are turning to this medicine is because there's something inherent in care with the medicine. When you go and spend 2 hours waiting in the doctor's office and he comes in, hardly looks at you, just looks at your chart for 5 minutes and then writes a prescription and is gone. I mean, that doesn't seem like much care. So, when you come to see an acupuncturist, more often than not, you're going to get some quality time with that person. Certainly, when you come see me, we're going to spend pretty much most of the hour together. So, I think that's part of the reason why people are turning to it and recognizing there's something really healing going on beyond just the medicine. So the treatments are relaxing, they're effective, and they're comfortable. Now, I'd be kind of remiss in telling you you never experience any discomfort. We are dealing with tiny, sharp objects after all. But most of the time, you don't even know they go in. You might feel a little bit when we stimulate the needle to promote the healing effect, but it's not sharp. It's not like you would expect. There's maybe a little dullness or pressure. Sometimes you feel some tingling in a different part of the body. It's kind of cool. And a lot of people really enjoy it. In fact, I'd say at least 20-25% of the people fall asleep on the table because that's how comfortable and relaxed they get. It's very effective. So, what is traditional Chinese medicine? Now, most people know or think of acupuncture when they think of traditional Chinese medicine, but there's actually 5 branches. I'm going to talk a lot more about acupuncture, but herbal medicine is just amazing. What they can do with herbal medicine, they've been working with herbal medicine for thousands of years. A lot of the same formulas and same herbs that we use today are hundreds of years old. They've been using this exact same formula for this exact same condition for 800 years, sometimes 1,000 years. That is time-tested medicine, folks. This is not the latest, greatest drug pushed through by the FDA. We know what we're doing with herbal medicine, and it's remarkable. I've just really had some tremendous things I've seen happen with herbal medicine. Nutrition is another major player. The Chinese have been known for a long, long time. We are indeed made of what we eat. This is very true. We know this from a scientific perspective these days. But they have some really interesting theories about food in Chinese medicine. Now, there's several different prevailing theories. My favorite one is that you should eat foods that look like the organ you're trying to treat. I know it sounds really, really weird, but they've, for instance, been giving people, like for instance, if you have kidney problems, you should be eating kidney beans, this sort of thing. If you're having blood disorders, you should eat red foods. I know it sounds weird, but they've actually been giving people walnuts for brain functioning for hundreds of years now because walnuts look like a tiny brain. Well, we know now for a fact walnuts are one of the very best things you can eat for your brain functioning. I really suspect that we're going to discover more and more they were onto something. Um, and we're just trying to catch up. Sometimes we're trying to translate what they were saying. But I think that we're going to discover more and more that Chinese dietetics work in a way that we just don't quite understand yet. Now, massage therapy, like I told you, I'm really, really into massage. I studied Tuna, Asian bodywork, Zen Shiatsu, Qinei Tsang, which is another fantastic Chinese modality. And I was a registered massage therapist, and I studied a few different styles of massage as well. There's something really, really powerful about touch, just the healing power of touch. One of my favorite stories back in, well, this woman, she had a chronic migraines, chronic headaches, and she was going to see everybody, and nothing was working. None of the drugs were working. None of the doctors could really help her, so she decides to go see an acupuncturist. So during the course of the intake, the acupuncturist reaches over and starts taking her pulse. We'll talk a little bit in just a bit that the pulse is a really fantastic diagnostic method we use. It's very present. We're very grounded, and we're feeling a lot of things going on with the pulse. It's much, much more than the rate. So as this acupuncturist was taking her pulse, she said, "Wow, that's amazing. My headache is gone." And the acupuncturist just kind of chuckled to himself. He says, "Okay, that'll be $10." So he didn't really charge her the money. He was just joking. But he started talking to her and realized that she was a widow, a recent widow, and all of the rest of her family was gone, and no one, she didn't have anybody that touched her. And all these doctors she went to, nobody ever touched her in a caring and meaningful way. And here was all she needed was this wonderful Chinese doctor to touch her. It was just really amazing. We know instinctively though there's something going on. Whenever you hurt yourself, you reach over and you put your hand on it. If you have a headache, your hand goes to your head. Mothers will caress their babies when they're in distress. So we know there's something going on. Now, Tai Chi and Qigong. Um, Tai Chi. Most people have got some idea about Tai Chi. They've seen people in the park, and it's a martial art. And Qigong is actually very similar. Tai Chi is actually a form of Qigong, but Qigong is a breathing exercises. That's a simple translation. It's also energy cultivation. It goes on and on. I studied a lot of Qigong because this was really cool to me. But the basic in with the good, out with the bad. Well, that's very, very basic Qigong. But it goes really, really deep when you start doing other visualizations and you start doing movements which stretch out certain meridians. It can be really, really profound. Now, I know a lot of Qigong, and I know some very simple techniques, but I can show you when we have a diagnosis for you that you can take home your healing and continue your healing when you go home. Really, really powerful, really great stuff. Also, be sure to check out my Art of Breathing CD. That's a free gift to you by signing up for my newsletter. And that's also some introductory Qigong exercises. So check that out. So acupuncture is over 3,000 years old. Now, we have a text called the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. And this is the most referenced text in all of acupuncture. All textbooks reference the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. They have for centuries. We actually have a physical copy, which is 1,500 years old. We know that it's 1,500 years old. It was found in an archaeological site with a rich history about it. So we know exactly this book is minimum of 1,500 years old, but there were other books found in that same archaeological site which referenced the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine, and that they were saying that the book was already 1,000 years old. So here we have a 2,500-year-old book. And inside the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine, they're referring to how the ancients practiced the medicine. It gets crazy. There's evidence that it's even older. There was a very well-preserved body that was found frozen in I want to say the Austrian Alps. This body was so perfectly frozen, it was completely intact. They found some really cool things. They found he was carrying herbs. He was kind of a nomad, and he had these tattoos. But they weren't like normal tribal markings like you might expect to find from a nomad at this time. They were like little lines and dots and hash marks. And at some point, they got really curious, and someone got a bright idea, and they called an acupuncturist over and said, "Hey, what do you think about these tattoos?" The acupuncturist said, "Yes, those are our acupuncture points. Those are points that we'd use for digestive disorders." Well, when they dissected the mummy, we call it a mummy. It wasn't like wrapped like a mummy. It was just perfectly frozen, perfectly preserved. But when they dissected the body, they found out that it had intestinal parasites. When they did carbon-14 dating on it, they found out that body was 5,500 years old. 5,500 years ago, using the exact same acupuncture points that we use today. folks. That is time-tested medicine. So moving forward to the 20th century, I want to mention this very briefly. This is something that is a little bit unique about, not entirely unique, but it's something that separates me from some of the other practices that are out there. And when Chairman Mao came into China, they wanted to standardize everything. They wanted to westernize everything. It's communism, right? They wanted to get everybody together on the same page. Well, they got all these famous acupuncturists, all these that were all doing their own family styles, basically got them together and said, "You guys are doing all this different stuff. You're doing these individual practices. We need to make it standardized." So they got everybody together and said, "You guys agree on the points." Well, they were a little bit reluctant to do that, because if you had a family secret, it was good to have knowledge that your competitors didn't have. So acupuncture actually got a little bit whitewashed during the time. Um, yeah, so it's a little bit unfortunate. Now, there was a man named Master Tung, and he was practicing his family style acupuncture, the Tung family acupuncture. Well, he didn't stick around. He wasn't there. He was in Taiwan, and he was able to keep practicing his family style when everybody else was, doing this new traditional Chinese medicine. He, his acupuncture is based on the classics. We mentioned that Yellow Emperor's classic of medicine, so it's acupuncture which is much older. He says his lineage went back to 2,500 years. He actually has the charted lineage where it goes back 500 years. His family have been practicing this style. Well, they're absolutely amazing. There's an additional 700 acupuncture points, and they're incredibly effective. I just found to be the most amazing results happen, and often when people are on the table, they feel their pain go away and leave their body right there. Really, really amazing stuff. So this is something I talk more about it on my website. So if you want to check out a little bit more about that, please check over there. But this is one of the things that I spent a lot of my effort trying to master what Master Tung was practicing. And then in 1996, the FDA declared the acupuncture needle to be a medical device. This is some good things because they used to use the same needles. They used to just kind of wash them off in wine, uh, insert them through the clothes. It was not very clean. Now we use them one time, we throw them away. No chance of cross contamination ever. Now, there have been a lot of studies on acupuncture. Um, Studies are really interesting. I've got a pretty decent little article on my website again if you want to look a little bit more because studies are challenging, but they have shown acupuncture can be effective in so many different things. They've done something good for people in all these categories, and I've treated most of the things on this list. Um, Stress conditions, it's absolutely amazing with insomnia, anxiety. They're doing some really fantastic things with post-traumatic stress disorder these days. They're using this the in the VA hospitals. Most of the VA hospital vets that I've talked to said they get acupuncture in their VA hospitals. It's really really cool. They're doing some other things with battlefield acupuncture right now, where they're actually sending like pilots in particular that go out there and they're under great stress and they have pain. Well, they can't load them up full of drugs because they can't operate their jets. When they're drowsy, they put ear acupuncture points in and send them out while they're flying with the ear acupuncture treatment going on. Look, the government is already doing this. If it's good enough for the government, then maybe this is something to look into. Digestive things are really amazing. I've just seen people's problems just disappear. Whether it's nausea, constipation, seasickness. This is funny. I was practicing on cruise ships, which is why that's up there. We don't have to deal with that too much on land. But bloating, reflux, irritable bowel syndrome. This is a big one. We see this all the time. It's one of the most common things, and people get relief. They get relief without having to take all those toxic drugs. Respiratory conditions. This is something that's really does great things. Also with herbal medicine really helps a lot here. But even acupuncture gets the body re-regulating itself. I had a gentleman that came and saw me one time when I was working on the ship, and he was recently diagnosed with lung cancer. It was really really sad. And they just came on the ship. He wasn't undergoing any treatments yet. They just came on the ship to figure out what was going on, what they were going to do next. And he wasn't sleeping. He'd lay down and he'd start coughing, and he And when I saw him, his head was slumped over. His wife came with him, and they came in and we started the treatment. And she said she was already impressed because he only coughed about 3 times while he was in the room and laying down once the treatment started. Well, they came in and saw me the next day, and he was bright-eyed, looking around. He was really happy, and his wife said he slept like a baby that night. We did another treatment. He didn't even cough once while he was in the room. Now, obviously, I'm not saying 2 acupuncture treatments cured his cancer, but to treat symptoms that were so pervasive was really impressive. We were really, really ecstatic about that. Now, pain is something that most people know acupuncture treats. So that's what people come to see us for, and that's what we get really good at treating. All kinds of pain, whether you got, joint pain from arthritis, you got sore back, neck. These are one of the most common things we see. I have a fantastic treatment for sciatica. Probably about 80% of the people that come to see me get up off the table without pain. Well, this is something that nothing else they're doing is helping. Frozen shoulder, I love treating frozen shoulder. You know, I've had people coming in, the doctors say, like, you're going to have surgery. I put a couple needles in their leg, and 10 minutes later, they're lifting their arm straight over their head without pain. This is something you got to see. You got to come see me if you've got a frozen shoulder. All these other things, too. Women's health, with the PMS and menstrual problems, menopause, we have herbs that do so much better than the black cohosh. If you're having problems with your monthly cycle, these other things that Western medicine's just not touching, the peripheral neuropathy and Bell's palsy. I've had people just crying when they get up off the table because their neuropathy the pain is gone after the treatment. It's really, really wonderful. I feel so blessed to be able to offer these things to people. So the question is not really anymore, does acupuncture work, but how does it work? Now, the West is trying to figure it out, and they've come up with some theories. These are actually more than theories. These are actually facts, because they've done blood draws before and after acupuncture sessions, and they've measured the results. So they know the immune system goes up. White blood cell counts, gamma globulins, prostaglandins, overall antibody levels, the immune system raises. The really amazing thing is this is a byproduct of acupuncture. Now, if you're actually treating the immune system, you can do even more wonders, but it's a byproduct. When we're working with the pain, your immunity is boosting. Who doesn't need an immunity boost in these days and age? But this is one of the reasons why acupuncture is healing. It's not just masking pain. It's actually promoting an immune response and promoting the healing of the person. Endorphin theory. We know what endorphins are, right? It's the body's natural painkiller. They say drop for drop, it's 10 times more effective than morphine. So acupuncture helps release this in your body. So you can imagine having a little bit of endorphins running through your body feels pretty good. It does. Neurotransmitters. This is really fascinating. Uh, Neurotransmitters get regulated in the body. Serotonin, noradrenaline. They're discovering nitric oxide now is getting pooling at acupuncture points. Serotonin you've probably heard of. It's the feel-good hormone. Many people are on the antidepressants, which are called SSRIs. It stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Those drugs basically keep serotonin in your body because when serotonin is in your body, you feel good. So acupuncture helps your body release it and you feel good. Now, noradrenaline is another key neurotransmitter. It's very implicated in the sympathetic nervous system, and acupuncture helps regulate it. Sympathetic nervous system, you may realize, is part of the fight or flight response. So we've known that when our sympathetic nervous system is kicked in, everything shuts down except for what we need to fight or to run, to flee. So all of your muscles go and your adrenaline kicks in, so we're going to relax that for you. We're going to kick in the relaxation response instead of the fight or flight response. Now, this is when all the muscles relax and your internal organs start working at their highly optimized level. This is where your body starts to heal again. And then nitric oxide. This is fascinating. They're discovering more and more about the role of nitric oxide. It's implicated in heart health, your sexual health, and your nervous system health. So all these things are kicking in when you're getting acupuncture treatment. It's really, really promoting their body's natural ability to heal. Now, this is another key one for pain, the circulation theory. It's key for pain and some other things too. It opens and closes the blood vessels. Acupuncture does this. So if you have high blood pressure, it can lower it. If you've got low blood pressure, it can raise it. But where it's really key is when you have the type of pain which is called ischemic pain, and that's where the musculature is not getting a fresh oxygen supply because the blood vessels are closed off. So acupuncture opens those blood vessels, and it does it at this microscopic level, down where the nutrients actually change inside the capillaries from the interstitial membranes and fluids to the circulation system. This is increases at this micro level, so your body is really healing. The gate control theory is pretty interesting. This one says that we have these nerve impulses which travel up and down our spine. From we know this whenever you stub your toe. Often you hit your toe, and then it's a full second or two later before you feel the pain. You hit your toe, and you're like, oh, that's going to hurt. Well, those gates are opening up, allowing the nerve impulses to reach the brain, so you register it as pain. So what this theory is saying is that acupuncture is just shutting down those gates, essentially calling it a nerve block. So I've got mixed feelings about this. I think this really happens on one level because they do this, and they still do this today. They do acupuncture anesthesia. They'll do surgery, and they won't do local anesthesia, and they won't do um, you know other types of anesthesia for various reasons. If a person has allergies or just because of their condition, they can't go completely under. Well, they'll use an acupuncturist over there, and he'll stimulate the points, and they will actually cut the person open and be doing a full-blown surgery while they're wide awake and they're aware of what's going on. They just don't feel the pain. But after the surgery, then they have to change, what they're doing. It's a very specific set of points to be able to do this. So I think that's what's happening there. But I don't think that's really explaining everything because, like I said, all these other things happen too, and it's promoting healing in the body. It's not just a pain block, and there's definitely many types of pain where the person doesn't need to calm all the time to manage the pain. You actually get rid of the pain once and for good. So you've seen this symbol before, right? This is the yin and yang symbol, yin and yang symbol if you're from Texas, and but in China it's pronounced yang, and it's about balance. I could talk a long time about this symbol. There's so much philosophy there. It's about cycles. It's up and down, left and right, night and day, hot and cold, all balanced. Now the West has a similar concept called homeostasis. Homeostasis is defined as the body's natural ability to find and maintain equilibrium. And the catch is your body is always going to find and maintain equilibrium. The problem is your body is finding equilibrium with a stressful environment. So if you have chaos outside, you're going to have chaos inside. So what we do is we bring the focus back to the body, and we find the inner balance within the body, and the body heals after that. So you've probably seen something similar to this before too. These are our meridians and the points where we say that the chi flows. Again, I could talk a long time about acupuncture theory, um, and you'd probably glaze over if you haven't already, if you're still with me. So I'm going to kind of skip it. What I want you to think of is I want you to think of this as like an electrician's blueprint, and we're just connecting the wires. And when they're connecting the wires, the system starts optimizing and working at its highest potential. If you really want to know about the theories of acupuncture, make an appointment with me. We'll come up with a diagnosis for you, and you can learn it very applicable to yourself instead of just some, nebulous theory. So let's highlight some of the differences between Western medicine and Chinese medicine. I don't want to badmouth Western medicine. Western medicine is amazing. Obviously, they keep people alive. It's really amazing. Emergency care, some of the visual diagnostic things they do are just unparalleled. And, they keep people alive. But when it comes to prevention and wellness, well, there's not much there in Western medicine. They just don't really have that model. If you're looking as your role of health is, if it's simply the absence of disease, well, do you have that in Western medicine? But if it includes words like vitality and vigor and enthusiasm and just general well-being, well, you're missing that in Western medicine. It's just inherent in Chinese medicine. So once we get you out of pain, we're going to start making you feel like $1 million. Another thing that happens in Chinese medicine is we're always looking for the root of the problem. Often in Western medicine, we hear people say, or the doctors are saying, you're going to be on this drug the rest of your life. So that just very rarely happens with Chinese medicine. In fact, the only cases I can think of are people who are undergoing really serious, cancer patients and things like that. Okay, sorry about that. I lost my video stream. So we're talking about getting to the root of the problem. Yeah, so we don't want you to have to be on medications for the rest of your life. Ideally, I would lose all of my patients because they get better and they just don't need treatment anymore. So that's really the goal, is to get you feeling so great you just don't need medicine anymore. Whereas often you end up having disease management situation with Western medicine, where we're just regulating the symptoms and managing the symptoms. Now the problem is, at best, sometimes that works, where you regulate the symptoms just enough so the body has time to heal itself. But then the problem there is that your body is now fighting off a toxic substance and it's lowering the immune system. So, I think that we should really be working together. You know, I don't dismiss Western medicine. I just get irritated when they dismiss my medicine. But we should really be working together, and that's what they're doing in China now. It's just incredibly effective, having acupuncture and Western medicine in the same hospital, and they can decide when someone comes in what they actually need and send them to the correct care. There are more and more clinics that's happening in the West now. Some of the big cancer patients, cancer clinics, the Mayo Clinic and Sloan Kettering and Johns Hopkins, those places are starting to make acupuncture available to people. Sometimes they're bringing it into the hospital, but they're at least letting them know, hey, while you're going through these other treatments, this has really helped people, and they're showing them. And certainly with a lot of fertility clinics and are knowing some of the amazing things that acupuncture can help with fertility and help with um, maternal care. And it's just really a beautiful thing when we're working together. So when you come to see an acupuncturist and when you come to see me, like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit different than coming to see a a doctor where you're just getting 5 minutes of their time and they're diagnosing you. I know there's doctors that do much more than that, and obviously the nurses are doing a lot of really wonderful things as well. But that does happen. I hear about it all the time. Of course, I get the people who are having the negative experiences with their doctors, but when you come to see me or another acupuncturist, it's different. We're going to spend time and talking about your condition and talking about everything going on, which can be related and uh, contributing to that condition. We get a pretty good idea of what the pattern of disharmony is, and then we use diagnosis to confirm it or to help um, point us in a different direction. Um, Chinese medicine diagnosis is very different. First thing we're going to do is we're going to feel the pulse. Now, a lot of people think that I'm not feeling their pulse. They say you can't find it, and it's just that I've gone so far beyond just listening to the feeling the rate. We feel the different depths tell us something. Each different finger position we put it in tells us a different part of the organ system and what's going on there. We get a lot of information. It's really it's really cool. I really like doing it. It's one of my favorite things. And then we'll also look at the tongue. Now this sounds really weird. I know. I thought it was weird too, but the tongue is fascinating. We don't really realize it, but everybody's tongue looks different. It's actually a perfect reflection of what's going on inside the body. And we can tell a lot of information from looking at the tongue too. So hopefully what we see in the tongue and feeling the pulse is going to match what we're getting from talking to you. And once it does, then we have a correct diagnosis and we can move forward. So that's often going to consist of acupuncture, probably about 85% of the time with me. Sometimes I don't think people need acupuncture. I think you need herbs, and I'll recommend herbs. So that can also be part of the recommendation. If it's appropriate, we'll do some tuina, where you're getting a little bit of massage along with the acupuncture, if it's appropriate, and and then home care. That's if we can come up with a good diagnosis. I can show you a few breathing exercises and visualizations and things like that that you can do just to really bring everything together and take advantage of the five branches of Chinese medicine. So here's that list again. And I just want to paint a little picture for you real quick. Let's just say you're driving down the road and you're enjoying the nice weather. Maybe you've got the window down and there's not much traffic and you're just feeling really great. And all of a sudden you look down and you see the little warning light flashing saying check engine soon. So what do? You're probably saying, well, you just keep driving, right? Well, you know you shouldn't do that. What happens if you just keep driving and that warning light's flashing the whole time? The car's going to break down. Look, you can think of this as your instrument panel, folks. How many of you have more than one thing on this list? Your body is talking to you. Your warning lights are flashing. It's time to do something about it. And if it's not with me, then go see someone else. If you're not happy with the care you're getting from Western medicine, or if it's just not working for you, it's really, really time to feel better. So I want to thank you very much for your time. I know I went a little longer than I thought I was going to go to, and if you're still here, God bless you, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.